Welcome to TLC for the Soul podcast, where soul meets spirit. You have entered into sacred space. I'm your host, TAMI Lynn Chambers, and I'm here to help you shine. Now let's get going on this podcast journey.
I'm a chicken.
Hello, friends. Hello, and welcome to Bringers of the Light Sunday. I'm happy to be back with you here as we play with our continuing book that we're working on together, The Rose of San Juan Capistrano. And we will be diving into a new chapter today that will give us the energies of the week ahead. So whether you're new here, whether you have been here for quite some time, settle in, get yourself comfortable, or sometimes we say, take us out into nature with you. Walk around and ask Spirit to show you signs and things that might be pertinent to you as we bring forward this light-filled missive, along with the light language and the healing that may be coming from the messages that are included. My name is TAMI Lynn Chambers. This is TLC for the Soul, and I'm excited to have you here. Before we just jump into the story, I want to get us all in good old sacred space as I wrap us all in love light and light love. Inviting in the guides who overlight TLC for the Soul, Archangel Michael, Archangel Metatron, the Pleiadians, a host of other friends, spirit friends who like to join me, the spirit friends from the Rose of San Juan Capistrano. As we bring in messages, information, guidance, wisdom, healing for anyone who's listening to this whenever you might come across it. A couple of tiny little housekeeping things. I have uploaded we're up to chapter 16 now in the audiobook of this book that we're working on together. So every Sunday we come here and we bring in a channel chapter. It ends up becoming a book. And right now I've recorded, what we'll be reading from today is chapter 17. So I've recorded the audiobook up to chapter 16. There's a playlist for the Rose of SJC audiobook on YouTube and on Spotify. And you might have to hunt and peck a little bit more if you're on another podcast provider. Or if they allow you to search within the podcast, then you can just type in the Rose of San Juan Capistrano. And you should get and then the audiobook or something, and you should get all of those. Also, yesterday I dropped a huge pick a card reading for the eclipse season. What is this upcoming eclipse season bringing you? So I'm recording this on Sunday, the day it drops, the 10th of March. This is the new moon in Pisces. And some astrologers say this is the opening of the door of the eclipse season. And it goes all the way till the April the 8th, the huge, big total solar eclipse in the North Americas and that's in Aries. And then in between that, a couple of weeks from now, we have if you're manifesting a partner, an upgraded romance, or an upgraded partnership, then this eclipse at 5 degrees Libra is going to be the one that's going to help kick those things off for you in the physical realm. Doesn't mean you haven't been doing the work in the 5D or whatever to bring this thing in, or that you and this other person, I think, have been doing a lot of work in the astrals and in the 5D and in dream time ever since the nodes of fate shifted, and maybe some of you even a lot longer than that. The nodes of fate shifted into Aries and Libra. Now we've got these eclipses in Aries and Libra. Libra being the house of relationships and partnerships. Aries being the first house of the zodiac. So they're all about the self and healing yourself and upgrades for yourself and all of that. So if that pick a pile reading, it's on YouTube and it's on the podcast. Timestamps are there, and I know on the podcast you can't see the cards, but I think I do a pretty pretty good job of describing them. And I know folks like to listen in to the pick-a-piles even on the podcast. So that's almost a 2-hour. Each pile was about 30 minutes long. We got a lot of juicy information. And from what I can tell from the each pile, everybody's getting a huge upgrade because of all the work you've been doing. So some of you may be called to listen to one pile. Some of you, I think, were called to listen to all three, because I was kind of asking. Some of you are going to be called to listen to all three. So just, trust your intuition on that. And we had a lot of fun with that one. It was good news all the way around. I didn't get any kind of weird, sometimes there's a weird pile that, has some weird things going on in it. And I didn't get anything on that one. This was very high vibe. And then we have not done the March Energies Hangout yet, but I posted the Light Blast March news in the Love Jar on Patreon. So that's our lowest tier. That's where it's kind of like the love donation, plus you get the e-zine or the newsletter. And I posted a little visual to that on Instagram, I believe. But this month, the book of the month is Kyanite Fairy Wing, the Missing Shadow books. So if you want to read along with us at the book of the month, you can get your free ebook. So all my ebooks are free to read. I have 15 books, I think, out now, fiction and nonfiction. Links to everything I talk about are always in the show notes. I have the link to my Smashwords publisher there. So you could go in and download the ebook for free there, or you can go to Google Books, Apple Books, Barnes & Nobles, I think Kobo or something's another one. If you want to read along with us this month, because we'll be using Kyanite Fairy Wing, the Missing Shadow books, as our quote-unquote workbook for this month. In Patreon, Book Nook members who join us for the Book Nook, we're going to have a healing for body love and self-awareness using Kyanite Fairy Wing and some other, using the Spirit Friend Kyanite Fairy Wing and some other friends, Archangel Jophiel and my Lemon Yellow Smile Dragon. And we're going to be talking a lot about body love and self-love and self-awareness. And then in Inner Sanctum, if you're a member of the Inner Sanctum, we are going to we're going to have our next experiential in there. It's going to be a scavenger hunt experiential using the Fairy Wing Shadow Books book. There's some very mysterious shadow books in the book, the Missing Shadow books, and I've never had a chance to fully go in and play with what's in those books. So Spirit has said, let's use those shadow books for our experiential that's going to help us. The treasures that we find on the scavenger hunt from this experiential are going to lead us into the Wesak full moon, and that is the most bountiful, delivering the most blessings full moon of the year, every year in May. So if that calls you, you can join us in the Inner Sanctum for that scavenger hunt. And other just quick free resources on the channel, because we've been around for 6 years. We have many hundreds and hundreds of shows. If you're new here, you may not be aware of that. Hence why I like to kind of do this little public service announcement at the beginning of this show, just to let you know what's out there and available for you as resources. This show's been around quite some time. We've got huge bodies of work out there, much of it timeless. If you're on Spotify and YouTube, we have probably three or four workshops on the channel. We have the 555 workshop. We have is it 777? I can't remember. There's 2 experientials. There's also the Kilimanjaro Ascension Journey. And so if any of those they're just do it at your own pace. Follow along. We use the books and the guides, and there's scavenger hunts and all sorts of cool stuff. A lot to soothe and work with your inner child to having fun. That's what we're all about. Is healing can be fun. It doesn't have to be tedious and so serious. So we bring in a lot of levity through the books and a lot of the games that we play on the healing journey. So those are out there for you as well. All right. Let's see if there's anything else. I think that's it. Okay, so let's get into this week's chapter, and I have to kind of bring us back up to speed because I don't think we met last week. I don't know what happened on Sunday. I think I just had I need a me day, and I was like, I'm not recording anything. But the last so we're working on the book together, The Rose of San Juan Capistrano. All my books are channeled via automatic writing, so I never know what's going to come along next until I channel the chapters. But we've got Rosalie and Calvin in. They're from the Spirit Guides of Tessa Locke series. Tessa Locke is the sister city to my city, Rockaway Point. That's where many of the Bringers of the Light books take place. It's like an etheric place somewhere up in the upper coast of the UK, somewhere around in there. They want to be like in different, they're in like the upper coast of the UK. They want to be on the coast. And this is our Rose series. So we also have the Rose of Santo Domingo. All of these books I'm talking about are the ebooks I'm talking about. Some of these are on paperback, but not all of them. If you want a paperback version of Kyanite Fairy Wing for this month, then I believe they're on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles right now. So this is the second in the Rose series. We join Rosalie and Calvin again. And they have been called by Bringers of the Light headquarters to go to the town of Whistling Gulch, which is somewhere up there in their general vicinity. Some spa retreat. They were called to some weekend because there's something going on up there in Whistling Gulch. It's always dark forces. All of our Bringers of the Light people, right? I'm a Bringer of the Light. You're a Bringer of the Light. The Spirit Friends in my books are all Bringers of the Light. We're all doing the work of the 144,000. That's an activation code that basically turns you on to your soul mission and your soul purpose. Once you start seeing 144, a lot, you're being activated to your soul mission, your soul purpose is being activated. And it's so funny because my son has been telling me, he's 16, he'll be 17 in August, but he's like, I just keep seeing 144 everywhere. He's clearly on his spiritual path. He's opening up to his gifts and all of that. But he keeps telling me, like, I just keep seeing 144 everywhere. 144, 144. And he'll tell me, like, there's 144 again. And I'm like, oh, yes. So he's getting an early start on his mission, which I guess should come as no surprise because, like, I'm his mom, right? I'm like, he would be aligned to, like, we're clearly the, I don't know where I'm going with this. Anyway. So it's back to the proximity is power. So if you've listened to the pick-a-pile already for the eclipse, you know what I'm talking about. But it's like you're the sum of what you spend your most time, the 4 or 5 people you spend your time with. I'm like, well, it's just me and him. So like, how is he? Like, I'm bound to rub off on him somehow, right? What we're doing here is magical work. 24/7. He's telling me about the energy. Like, Mom, the energy feels so weird. And I'm like, well, it's not my house because my house has been made into a sacred temple and sacred grounds. And we're constantly activating the temple and activating the dragons. And it's like, you're not going to find that here. It's coming from within you. It's something you need to work with. And I guess I'm very talkative, right? We had a rodeo across the street this past week, and there was hundreds of people that showed up yesterday. I was like really kind of like, freaking out because it's usually so quiet around here. And I mean, lots for this area, like this is a very small town, like lots and lots of people showed up. And it's a professional, I don't know all the types of rodeos, but some sort of rodeo, some professional rodeo that brought people in from the surrounding states and from Canada to watch it. But it reminded me of our song for, was it February? We had the fairy tale song. It was like the horses have come, and there was not hundreds. I don't know if there was hundreds of horses. There's horse trailers everywhere. There was lots and lots of horses, which totally amplify. Horses are one of my power animals. It totally amps up the intuitive energy for me. And so for the past week, there have been lots of horses. And then today there's like, there's a clearing out. And it's like, lady, lady, the horses are gone. Now they've come and they've gone. Oh, Jiminy Crickets. All right. Back to the Rose of SJC. So where we picked up, and we did not bring chapter 16 to the podcast, so it's only out there on the audiobook, but basically Rosalie, Catamancy saved Rosalie from the clutches of Cantankara, the fairy who had pulled Rosalie and several other people, the girl that Rosalie was trying to follow, and some guy with a dog got pulled into the fairy portal, and were hunting for berries or whatever, and Catamancy did something to get them out and got them out. And so Rosalie was like, oh, you're such a good little Catamancy. And he was like, well, my job's done. So he went to go play, and he met a new spirit friend in the trees called Meep. Meep. I've got a drawing of Meep. I'm going to put it, oh man, I don't know where I'm going to put it. I'll put it somewhere. I was going to put on a shirt for myself because I'm working on some stuff, some new merch, but Meep was like this little character who is, I think is going to start showing up in all of these books, but I don't know what he's doing yet, but he showed up and he showed Catamancy. He brings Catamancy. He shows up to Catamancy, comes out from behind a bush or something, and he takes Catamancy to where Mr. S is making all of the tainted and dark enchanted cream of mountain mushroom soup that's making everybody angry and and the more batches of soup he makes, the more dastardly the soup becomes, so that it's not just, arguments. It's going to get worse and worse and worse. And so Bringers at the Light headquarters knew something was going on with that. And so that's why they called Rosalie and Calvin and the Rose of San Juan Capistrano to Whistling Gulch to try and foil these dark plans of Mr. S, who's a sprite, who's like a dastardly sprite who's out in the woods with his cauldron making all this cream of mountain mushroom soup and delivering it to the Whistling Gulch retreat, and apparently somehow getting it to the Hidden Foot Tavern, and everybody's like all up in arms and all fighting and everything. And so Meep shows Catamancy Mr. S dancing around the cauldron and making his now really bad, like much worse, cream of mountain mushroom soup. And so Catamancy's like, oh crap, now I've got to go get everybody in line, because this is apparently what we're dealing with, and we need to stop this guy from whatever he's doing. And this is where we're going to drop in. And we'll read the chapter. So the way we always do it, if you're new here, is we read the chapter. I channeled this just right before I came up here and started recording this. And this then will have all the metaphors that are going to play out for you for the energy of what's coming up for this week ahead. So this is like a little energy forecast in the story. Let me see. I'm going to drop in a little bit into chapter 16 just at the very end, and then we'll read chapter 17, and then we'll break it down. So Meep inched closer to the cauldron, peering in to find a huge vat of what appeared to be mushroom soup. Phew, that smells horrible, Meep said telepathically to Catamancy. Just then a branch cracked, and both Meep and Catamancy darted behind a huge mulberry bush. Looking out between the branches, they saw an elderly but still very nimble Mr. S dumping a whole basket of mushrooms into the vat. He sputtered out some sort of dark words, but Meep and Catamancy, who were very high vibe, could hardly discern what they were. But at the end of the incantation, a huge, very smelly cloud went up from the soup cauldron. Mr. S rubbed his taloned hands gleefully and hopped on one foot and then the other. Now to put this soup in the containers and attach the enchanted soup labels. But these enchanted labels had nothing to do with causing fulfilled hunger and satisfied tummies. This soup was caustic to the soul and should be avoided at all costs. Meep and Catamancy had stumbled upon a very important part of the puzzle, and they must get word out to their friends who might be able to stop this dastardly plan. Because with each new batch of mushroom soup, The stakes were far darker and more dangerous, and rather than just causing ill will, this new batch had been enchanted to cause much worse. Things we can't even mention here in this light body of work. Chapter 17. If it tickles, keep laughing. Meep and Catamancy made haste to find the rest of the group. They needed Rosalie and Calvin to understand what was happening. They needed Greer and Molly McBottoms to get the Rose of San Juan Capistrano ready for this battle. Heck, they needed help just understanding each other. And then Meep, this freaking Meep, and then Meep realized he didn't like to be seen or noticed by humans. And so that left only Catamancy to trek back to the retreat and convey this whole thing. He stumbled out onto the marked path to the Hidden Foot Tavern and straight into management only. Get out of here, you dratted cat! The old guy shook his fist and wheezed as he pulled out a cigarette and lit it with the strike of a match on the back of his shoe. The smell of brimstone went up in the air, and Catamancy grimaced. He ran away from management only, careful to conceal his destination since they'd made it very clear about the no pets thing. He shimmied up a rose trellis, rather than just teleporting himself back into the room. The rose trellis thing was much more fun to his cat countenance. The room inside was empty except for the light coming out from under the door of the closet, and the sound of Calvin singing in the shower. He was most likely getting ready for his meet-up in the Forest of Forbidden Bears later that night. But they might not even have to wait that long, Catamancy thought. If they could stop Mr. S in advance, then maybe this was the whole problem all along. They just needed a little plan to get the Rose of SJC into action, and then it might be the end of this whole silly affair. This is not the first time they've said that. Catamancy slipped into the closet and could see Greer and Molly McBottoms watering the rose. Its petals looked slightly wilted, and Greer was sure the fireplace and hot heat in the room were the cause. He didn't have the misting fans he used back home, and that always added just the perfect amount of moisture to the air. Catamancy filled them in on what he'd seen, and also that they might have an ally in Meep if they could get him to come out of hiding. Just then a knock at the suite door pulled them out of their planning. "One moment," Calvin said, coming out of the bathroom with only a towel wrapped around his waist. But no need for pleasantries. A note was slipped under the door, and then footsteps running down the hallway were confirmed. Calvin reached out to pick up the note, unfolding it to find these words. "The woods are no longer safe for our meeting. Instead, come to the kitchen door at the Hidden Foot Tavern at precisely 9 p.m. I'll be waiting." Oh, not another change, Calvin thought. This was beginning to feel like a wild goose chase, clues leading nowhere, and now this change of plans. Rosalie slipped inside the suite, her forehead damp from running about the trail, trying to follow the girl from earlier. She had lost her down a steep decline that went off trail and deeper into the woods, she told Calvin. Calvin showed her the note, and she agreed. She was tired of this cat and mouse game. Something needed to give. But Greer, Molly, and Catamancy had heard enough. The Rose of SJC must be made ready for travel and be sitting there at the kitchen door to the Hidden Foot Tavern precisely at 9 p.m. tonight. There was no question about it. Tonight was the night. And then chapter 18 has one of our most famous phrases from many of our books. I like to channel in the title of the next chapter. So in many of our books, whenever divine counterparts meet for the first time, in Twin Flame, there's always, one of them always says, "Do I know you?" And so chapter 18, the title of the chapter is Do I Know You? So I don't know what's happening there. So let's go back and see what Spirit wants us to pull out for you in reference to the week ahead energies. There's a lot about people needing to work together, and that I think this starts to fall right in line with the pick a card reading we did, especially for the eclipse coming up in Libra, which is all about, we just said, rekindling relationships, new higher vibe relationships coming in. People needing to work together, combining resources to be more successful. like this meep realized he didn't like to be seen or noticed by humans. And so everything was up to catamancy to go back and convey everything. Then he met management only. Oh my gosh, sorry. I'm so yawning. It's one of those days where it's just very sleepy feeling. Management only, I get this, is two things to me here in this book. One, he is kind of this representation of, quote, air quotes, the man, that 3D guy or gal or whatever, guy or gal, who is just grumpy and doesn't like anybody or anything, and just always, their energy always brings everybody else down. So you could have a management only in your life. And then in this case, management only to me is like when he said that he struck a match and then catamancy smelled brimstone. I'm like, okay, so there's like devil energy going on, a little bit of, hellfire. There's going to be hell to pay, kind of that kind of energy may be around you. It could also be a collective thing as we've done a lot of purging and purification to get to this eclipse season. But that's us, right? That's the people that are aware and are doing the work. The people that aren't aware and aren't doing any work at all on themselves continue to just be ruled by their emotions. And I think that this time coming up, this eclipse window, is going to be very volatile. Yes, big chills, because what's going to happen here is, we talked about this, and I felt like I talked about it in great detail in one of the piles of that reading, but this is the start of a new 7-year cycle. And for those of us listening here, for you, the Wheel of Fortune is on the upturn, the uptick, and for, I believe also for the planet, okay? So the last 7-year cycle, the last total solar eclipse for North America, the big one that started this whole 7-year thing, was in, I believe it was the summer of 2017, because I remember being outside on my little beautiful California coast house, watching it with my little welding glasses and be like, oh, this is so great. And then little did I know that the whole world was really about to take a downturn, and the Wheel of Fortune was about to go like down. And that's when, like my spiritual journey really ramped up and really got like very intense. And that is also when we had, the pandemic, all these things, right? And now for those of us this past 7 years that have been doing intense, you'll know if this has been doing intense spiritual work, and now you're hearing messages like, you're ready, it's time, you can move forward now, you're done being in the cocoon, you can come out. This part of your journey is kind of done with, and you're ready to move forward. Then I feel like that Wheel of Fortune for you is on the uptick, meaning, things that, because I know like for me, that's me. I would do like intense spiritual work really for the past 7 years. And many other things, Spirit intentionally put many other things on hold for me because my most important job was getting this spiritual work on myself done and completed, clearing old karma, old bad, many, many, many layers of things, not just one thing. That's why it took so long. And so many things were held back. Channel's been around for 6 years, but we have like 200 followers, so I was not supposed to be having, lots of followers and lots of outside things to deal with. I was supposed to be in hermit mode doing the work. And I think quite a few of you have been doing the same thing. I know, because you've told me like, oh my God, my life just suddenly, went from like doing all the, traveling the world and doing all these things. And then I was just suddenly in my house, and it was like, yes. So that's ending for those of you that that we're talking to. And the Wheel of Fortune is on the uptick now. And so with this eclipse window, and this total solar one in Aries, and it's the first house of the zodiac, so it's a whole bright new beginning. We start afresh, and for those of us where Spirit intentionally held things back because we weren't supposed to have them yet, all those things are going to start coming in. You know, your finances could greatly increase, your resources could greatly increase. That person you've been wanting to show up could finally show up. Lots of things that, you know, your many things, right? Your wish list, because how many times have I said, like, I'm writing, it's year 4, I'm writing the same wish list. Your wish list is finally going to start manifesting. That's us, right? But the intensity of these energies in the world, for people that are not aligned, and for people that maybe for other areas of the collective or other soul groups, because I do kind of feel like sometimes this stuff happens by soul group. For other areas, other soul groups, yeah, I'm getting big chills. So our soul group, if you resonate with me, we're in the same soul group. Our soul group has been hitting it hard this past 7 years, and now it's our turn. So there has to always be a balance, right? Everybody doesn't get it all. I don't know how this happened. I don't know how these inner workings work, but it sounds like by soul group, different soul groups are pulled into different things at different times, right? So we're coming up out of it. We're in the upswing. But other soul groups may be going into like a downward turn of the wheel. It may be their turn to, yes. It may be their turn to be really pulled into a hermit mode or go into some deep soul work over the next 7 year cycle. This 7 years. Why does it take so freaking long, right? Especially if you have a lot to clear. So, and it could be like newly awakened people too, right? These things happen in phases. And in the world where people aren't awake, the intensity of these eclipse energies really just brings out people's, like, you know, emotional body intensely reacts, as does the planet herself. Yes. And I'm seeing, you know, there could be an increase in volcanic activity or, you know, tremors or all of that. Like, the planet is also going to be reacting to these intense energies coming in with this. Aries is fire, right? Aries is fire sign. And, a huge total solar eclipse in Aries in the first house. So, there could be a lot of intensity within and around you. And if your boundaries aren't very good, or if you need to do some work on your boundaries, or heck, even if you don't, like, even sometimes with very strong boundaries and, you know, very, very being aware of what's going on, sometimes those little snarky clouds or whatever just sneak up on you, and you just feel grumpy or whatever, and the best thing for you to do there is not beat yourself up, whether it's coming from within you or coming from outside of you. Just notice, like, oh, something's getting to me. Clear your energy and get yourself back to, you know, if you don't like the thought you're thinking, find a better thinking thought, or as I like to do, I just like, well, got to distract myself again and go down the magical path, you know, and just lose myself in my work, since my work is so fun. All right, anything else? Let me just look. Oh, yes, the last point. This whole thing with changing, the whole thing at the end of this chapter with plans changing, a note coming under the door and saying, well, now I'm not going to meet you here, I'm going to meet you over there. But you need to be here precisely at 9 p.m. tonight. And no question about it, you know, 9 p.m. tonight is the time or whatever. So what's happening there? You may have felt like in the past you were ready to do something, really, really ready, and then you got pulled back from doing it. And then it may have come again. So it may have come again, this urgency to do something, and then Spirit pulled you back and was like, no, it's not time yet. Especially if you're aligning to a new situation, a new person or whatever, because we did also talk about in the pick a pile, when two or more people are involved in something, when it's not just something under your control, multiple timelines and multiple things are happening. And so I remember saying, like, well, in my astrology, my chart, my chart and the things that the transits and stuff that are affecting my chart tell me that I'm ready for whatever this is that I want that's coming next. I'm like, oh heck, but there's another person involved, and maybe that other person's chart is not ready yet. Like maybe something has to transit, maybe some alignment has to transit in their chart, in their, astrology for them to be ready. So I was like, oh crap. So it may have been this push-pull along the past, how long, Spirit? Like 5 or 6 months, where you were like, yes, I'm ready. Because Spirit has been telling us, back when I was doing a bunch of the Twin Flame workshop stuff on my other channel, Spirit had been telling us since the summer of last year that we were ready to move forward, especially those people manifesting a certain type of relationship. And you can put whatever label on it you want. And so from summer of last year to now, we've been hearing like, you're ready, you're ready, you're ready, but still we're not ready. So I feel like there was a lot of false starts where like one person was ready, but the other person wasn't, or the other person was ready and we weren't. Something was going on that made it feel like, yes, it's time to take action. Oh no, then you got pulled back from taking action. Or yes, you felt the energy rising, like, especially for twin flames, if your twin or somebody or somebody you're very aligned to is going to move towards you, you'll feel it happening before it happens. So there are times where I could feel the energy rise and then like nothing happened. So yeah, they're giving me big chills. So you may have felt that the energy rising for something to happen and then nothing happened. So I feel like there was a lot of false starts. Why? Yes, they're saying the timing has to be right for both parties. It's just it can get very complex. Yeah, they're like, that's why we're the masters of your destiny and not you. Because you don't know all the stuff, right? You don't know all the stuff that's going on behind the scenes. So everybody has to align. And so now it seems like there have been these false starts in the chapter here. We've got these where, they got a note to meet over here and then no, now not meet over there. Now we're going to meet over here. So now Spirit sounds like what they're saying with this last few sentences of this chapter is it sounds like both parties are aligned to whatever needs to happen next. So if it's time for one person to reach out, or if it's time for another person to be receptive, or if it's time for something to happen, it sounds like now with the wheels of fate turning in your favor with all of these transits and astrological alignments and eclipses, that if you do get it's go time for you at this time or whatever, which I've talked about that in great detail in another show, where it's like, if Spirit tells you to be here at 7:12 Pacific time, right here and do this thing, you better well do it. So it sounds like things are lining up now for you to be able to take action. And if you're the person that's supposed to be taking action towards another person or towards something in your life that you've been wanting, then you will get very clear guidance on when, where, how, what to do. There will be no doubt about it. Like the thing says, no doubt about it. It's time. When it's time to roll, you will know. And I think if you're the person on the receiving end of whatever this might be, you'll kind of feel the energy ramping up, and then hopefully finally, right? I keep saying that. Hopefully finally, the action is taken, and you are the recipient of that, and your wish can finally come true. And you can finally, after 4 years or whatever, cross that thing off your list. Oh, yeah. And we did talk about that in great detail in the pick a card as well, about things starting to manifest that have been on your list for quite some time. And about now with this new moon starting today, you can start to think beyond those things and move into like, okay, let's already check that off as if these things have already happened. And now what? What's the next phase of things you want to manifest? If all these things on your list, no matter how long you've had the list going, because there's some people that could say, well, my list has been out there even longer. If those things now are done, what's the next? Don't write those anymore. Basically, stop writing those down. You can stop writing those down and think beyond that. What's the next phase of like, well, I've got this relationship now. Now what happens? I've got this dream career. Now what happens? Or my business going to the next level. Well, now what? All those things. All right, let me just check in here with the guides and see if there's anything else they want me to share. Okay, no, they're saying that that is all for this week. So it's a very, very fruitful week ahead and maybe a little bit even beyond. I feel like we're giving us messages all the way up to the eclipse at the end of the month. So these messages will kind of be out there for the next couple of weeks. So if you're waiting for something to pop off, the best thing that you can do is continue to focus on yourself. Continue to do what you've been doing. Continue to keep your spirits high. Do what you need to do to keep your vibration and your frequency up there. Address any niggling, weird, stuff or any irateness or that was the last thing I wanted to say. I almost forgot. Any things that comes up, like as I was walking earlier, I just was like, I'm so tired of this. I'm just tired. There's days where I'm just like, I'm so tired of this journey. And then I asked Spirit, like, can you show me, like, what is going on here? And then it's several confirmations from several different sources. One was actually Kyanite, Fairy Ring, the Missing Shadow books, the page that I intuitively pulled up, and then another confirmation in a reading I heard this morning for the week ahead from Jenny at Moon Magic Tarot. And I thought, you know what? And that's this also came out in this chapter that we just talked about too. It's the whole kind of cat and mouse game thing. Spirit likes to play the game. It's a game, right? Because didn't you say you wanted fun and adventure and magic and mystery and all that? Isn't that why here on the channel we're always playing like treasure hunts and scavenger hunts and all that stuff? It's like, you don't want your manifestation to just drop in your lap. That's like so boring. This is kind of what I feel like my guides are saying, like, that's just so boring. Like, that's not who you are. You don't want to just, you want to like find the keys and the clues and get the signs and the serendipity and feel the synchronicity and the bliss and follow the clue. Yes, they're giving me so many chills. And follow, clue number 1 that leads you to this, and clue number 2 that leads you to that. And hear, this reading that gives you this message. It's been a journey. The whole thing has been about enjoying the journey and not just getting to the destination. And so for Spirit, it has been this fun little game. I'm getting emotional. I don't know why, because it's been like this fun little game for us, in the 3D, we're like, this is taking forever. It's just been so arduous and tedious. And it's like, no, but look back. For them, it was this fun little game of like, we're going to drop a little clue over here for you. Okay, we're going to send you to this. We're going to send you on the treasure map to this little reading. It's going to give you this card reading is going to give you a little good reading and boost your spirits. Okay, then you're going to find a little something on the ground that's going to like, oh man, I found this thing and this is exactly what I needed. And then you're going to see your, power number or whatever. Like for me, it's 222. You're going to see 222 over here. Then you're going to see it over here. And then you're going to see it over here. It's just been like this really fun game that Spirit's been playing. And I don't think we've given them enough credit for how intricate and how detailed and how many things they've been like, weaving this journey for you along the way. And sometimes when I get some really distinct clues and stuff, I'm just like, oh my God, you guys are so good. I mean, you just could never make this stuff up in a million years. And so I think we don't give our guides enough credit sometimes, and we get angry with them like, another damn journey taking so damn long. I'm out of patience. And I was out of patience this morning. I was just like, I'm out of patience. I feel like crap. And I'm like, I feel so tired. And the Spirit's like, well, it's in your mind. It's not in your body. It's like, if you would just change your thoughts a little bit, get yourself back. Not that you're being grumpy, because I'm hardly ever grumpy anymore. With all the meditation, I'm hardly ever grumpy, but every now and then I get in this grumpiness. I was like, I'm just damn grumpy. And so I was getting mad at the dog, and I'm like, I don't want to be mad at my dog, and I don't want to be mad at this. I just really want to be at peace and have fun and enjoy the magic. And it's like, well, then just change your thoughts. Spirit's like, just change your thoughts. Just do something. So I'm like, well, Bringers of the Light always makes me feel upbeat and happy. So let me just bury myself in my work again and keep going and enjoy the clues and the signs, and really thank the guides behind the scenes who are dropping these things like left and right. I think there's actually more than I even notice sometimes, because, out of the corner of my eye, I'll see something like, oh my God, there's another clue. Sometimes I don't have time to capture them all. So give thanks. I give thanks. And gratitude for this fun journey. It has been, if this part of it is coming to an end, it has been an amazing, amazing treasure hunt. My treasure's still not here yet. Hopefully it is here very soon. But I'm supposed to act as if it's already here. It's already here. So it's been an amazing ride, I didn't just get in the car and go straight to the destination. I mean, it's been like crazy. This particular thing I'm manifesting has taken 4 years. It's still not here yet, but I'm thinking it's getting close. But it's been 4 years of signs, serendipity, synchronicity, messages, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of card reading confirmations and healing. I mean, it's just been amazing. It'll definitely be something that you could sit down and tell a group of people like this magical story to help boost their confidence and give them motivation at times when they might be feeling down about their own journey. So pay it forward if you can. All right, friends, I'm going to leave you here with that. And as always, I want to thank you so much for joining me. We will see you again soon. Take care. This episode has been brought to you by Rockaway Point's newest veterinary clinic, Posh Pets. Clark Witherspoon and his familiar poodles are here to help you with all your healing needs. Be it a toenail trim or a hairball tummy trouble healing session, we have everything you need at Posh Pets.